for anybody who wants me to comment on the quality of a lot of his other films, I have not seen Signs, I have not seen The Village, I've not seen Lady in the Water, I have not seen The Happening, or apart from a few of those meme clips of Mark Wahlberg talking to plants.
Hello? My name is Elliot Moore. I'm just going to talk in a very positive manner, giving off good vibes. We're just here to use the bathroom. And then we're just gonna leave. I hope that's okay. Plastic. I'm talking to a plastic plant.
That's not going to happen behind Harry, by the way. There's not going to be a giant twist where the plants come alive.
That's not the twist. I've not seen his adaptation of The Last Airbender, but I have seen enough of it to understand that I can never truly forgive him for destroying one of my favourite childhood television shows. What else is he?
Old.
I've seen The Visit.
Yep.
The Visit is campy fun,
right,
but not what I would describe necessarily as a good film. I've definitely not seen After Earth. I've seen YMS's review of that, and it just looks boring. I've not seen Old, but I did just last week go to the cinema and watch his most recent film, Knock at the Cabin, which was a competently made turd. I think is the best way of putting it. It inspires a lot of intrigue. It has a really interesting opening premise, but the messaging is overwhelmingly progressive and woke, given that it centers around a gay couple with a family, which, sadly, in light of recent news that I've been reporting on,
the town hall expose
felt a little bit close to the bone and, let's say, not representative of reality. When the whole and also the mysteries it set up turn out not to be mysteries. If you're interested in watching Knock at the Cabin, this is just like my mini review of it. I'm going to spoil it, so switch off the video for maybe the next 2 minutes or so, and then come back and I should be done. Do you care?
No.
Yeah, right. Basically, the whole question that the film turns on is these 4 people show up to this cabin in the woods where the family is vacationing, and they say, right, one of you has to kill one of the other ones voluntarily, or the end of the world will happen. And the 4 people later on in the film are revealed to be elements of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, except they don't actually line up with pestilence, death, and famine. In fact, they line up with the opposites of those. So you've got like nurture, guidance, caring, stuff like that. It's a bit... It's not done very well as far as I'm concerned, that particular reveal, and it doesn't feel like much of a reveal either when it's just like blindingly, obviously in your face the whole time. 4 people show up to tell you the world's going to end. I wonder if these people are the harbingers of the apocalypse, perhaps. And every time that they refuse to kill one of the other members of the family to save the world, one of the 4 people kills themselves or is killed by the other 4. And that unleashes a plague and pestilence upon the land. So, for instance, you get a gigantic tsunami taking out coastal cities and millions of people die.
And nothing of value was lost.
You get a special plague that starts to spread that only targets children. So all of a sudden, millions of children start to die. And that
gender ideology, yep.
yeah, they unleash Tavistock upon the world. And my overwhelming question was, okay, because they throw some red herrings throughout the film, M. Night Shyamalan does, and to be fair, this might be the fault of the novel that he was originally adapting, but he throws some red herrings to make you think, and also to make the characters think, perhaps we're on the wrong, perhaps this is all nonsense, perhaps we're under some shared delusion, and all of these gigantic world-ending catastrophes just happen to be coincidentally happening all on the same day. You know, which is a bit far-fetched for me. And also when you think, oh, this is just some shared delusion set up by a guy who turns out later in the film, Rupert Grint's character, is the first one to die. He's the first one to get killed. And it turns out later in the film that he had committed a hate crime against the gay couple earlier in their lives, which convinced one of the two that what it was a hate crime revenge attack for the fact that he got the guy arrested and lost his job. And I think killing yourself is a hell of a long way to go to settle a grudge with some gay guy that you punched in a bar 5 years ago. So that made no sense as a twist reveal. And then it just turns out at the end, they were telling the truth, the world was ending, and one of the couple has to kill the other voluntarily, and they do, and they save the world, which is apparently a much better ending than the book, where they just go, screw it, and let the world get sacrificed. which is a massively selfish
Right,
result.
so this vindicates a lot of my opinions. One, that M. Night Shyamalan with these movies had a lapse into sanity and became an accidental genius. And number two, that there is a biblical thread which runs in the undercurrent throughout these three films, and which I'm sure we will
I
explore.
did see people talking about Revelation in regards to these online, but obviously I don't have the biblical knowledge to back that up. I will just say, just as the final word on Knock on the Cabin, that for me, more than anything, more than all the progressive messaging, my question ended up being, okay, if killing yourselves, as in the actual four horsemen, if them killing each other is what unleashes the plagues that ends up destroying the world, why don't they just not do that? And the only answer the film has to that is, anyway.
Yeah.
That's the answer the film gives. And it was really annoying because I was just thinking there the whole time that they're like begging. They're begging this couple, you have to make the decision, please, or I'm going to die. And I just think, well, no, the only people who are going to kill you are your friends that you're here with, and then they'll kill each other next if they keep refusing. Why don't you just not do that, and then maybe the end of the world won't happen? Well, it was so absurd. And then when you get to the reveal at the end that, oh, it was true the whole time, there's just a question lingering in your head of, what was the point of any of the red herrings? Because some of the red herrings are, oh, the original plague that happened. Well, sorry, the original tsunamis that took out those coastal cities, they happened hours before the Four Horsemen showed up.
So they Watchmen it up.
A little bit, and then but then also that raises the question of are the deaths of these people causing these plagues? But then the end of the film reveals that it's all true, so I guess they must have been, which means that tsunami hitting the coast and killing millions of people earlier than they arrived must have just been a coincidence, or else it's pointless. And then one of the other things when it's showing the plague is it's showing they're on a closed network television circuit in this cabin, and it's pre-recorded. What's the point of that if it turns out it's all true in the first... There were red herrings purely for the sake of having red herrings in a mystery narrative. And that's one of the things that can really annoy me about the way that M. Night Shyamalan writes. And once again, that might be an issue with the original novel that he was adapting, which is that sometimes... And he says that his creative process is the opposite, but I don't believe it is. He says that he comes up with characters and lets the characters determine how the plot goes, and then if there's an appropriate twist through their actions, then it just happens to be that way. I do not believe him.
That's not what the actors have said. Sarah Paulson actually said when she plays Dr. Staple in Glass that she really enjoyed coming into the franchise as the newbie, because even though she felt quite intimidated, she works best because she's a personal control freak at home with exact direction. And M. Night Shyamalan did... he tried to go for single take shots because he controlled every performance down to the T. I remember Bruce Willis saying in the behind the scenes of Unbreakable that he's never had less control over how a character would progress than in Unbreakable. He was just told exact facial expressions, standing, line delivery,
Samuel L.
etc.
Jackson said much the same, that they would go over takes over and over and over again until it was just how M. Night had envisioned it in his head.
Proper Kubrick style, yeah, 127 times.
Very much so, although it led to a bit of an amusing bit of the interview where Samuel L. Jackson was talking about how obviously him and Bruce Willis had worked together a few times before, most notably on Die Hard with a Vengeance. And because the two of them were pros, and M. Night at that point was still kind of a
rookie director,
he would have this vision and they would be like knowingly like smirking at one another like, yeah, I'm sure it'll turn out perfect. M. Night, yeah, sure, of course.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.